Should work. All right. It's usually a little tiny bit of a lag. So let's go in there. All right, we're live. Let's see the audio. Should work. All right. It's usually a little. Okay, so let me show you this real quick before Xenia and Lisa give us. All right, we're live. Let's see the audio. Let me turn that off. Right, so if you go to the Facebook group, because sometimes you don't see the chat coming in here, you won't see the people's names. So if you go to the Facebook group and you find the live video, you can click on the video. Right, Xenia just told us it works. Let's see if her name actually came out over here. If it says Facebook, nope, it says Facebook user. Restream needs to get on that.
Okay.
Right. So if you go to the Facebook group and click on the video and just have it muted, you can see the comments coming in real time. We'll have Xenia and Lisa there too. Right. So yeah, we'll be good with that. So that's an option. And then you also have the chat here on the side, but as you can see, it just says Facebook user. Mm-hmm. It doesn't say their names. All right. Hey, everybody. Hello. Let me get rid of this because obviously we're in the group. Welcome to another client interview. We had Rebecca Jeffries last week who told us all about how she wrote a freaking book while she was in Persuade to Profit. Did you know that, Claudia? She was in your
not.
She wrote a whole ass book.
Good for her.
Right? While she was in Persuade to Profit with you. We found out last week, right? I was like, I thought the book already existed. She goes, no. I did the work in Persuade to Profit and it turned into a book. I was like, oh my God, great. And we have Claudia, who was also in the spring cohort for 2021. And let me do something real quick here. Actually, let me edit this real quick. 1 second. And we're going to be interviewing Claudia today all about how she had a $17,000 week. And it's going to be an invigorating conversation because y'all are making a lot of mistakes that Claudia was making, right? That we helped Claudia get out of, or you're about to make the mistakes that Claudia was making, and we're going to make sure that you don't. And then we're going to talk about how she actually ended up going from making $7,000 a month to having her first $17,000 week. I know it takes a second for all y'all to get notified and get on here. Yeah, so excited to hear Claudia's wisdom. It's good, y'all. It's good. Right? But I know it takes a second. I got to set up the gram. So let's hit this intro real quick while you guys start piling in. Start tagging your friends who are in here. Xenia, start tagging people who need to know the story. Lisa, if you know anybody who needs to hear the story, tag them. Let's hit the intro real quick while I set up Instagram, and we will be right back. Okay, there we go. So we got Facebook group going. We got Instagram going. Thank you for being here, everybody. How sick is that intro? People are always like, that's a good intro, girl. How'd you do that? That is thanks to Canva and this cool little nifty tool we're using called Restream. Instagram, I wish Restream had a way to like talk to you guys, but they haven't quite figured that out yet. So you're just going to be hearing the audio of this for now. So like I said, we have a client interview today. I have Claudia with me. Claudia is a career coach. When Claudia came to work with us, she was making $7,000 a month, working all the freaking time. She joined us in Persuade to Profit. We got swag now. Persuade to Profit. And she went from making $7,000 a month to having her first $17,000 week. So we're going to talk about how that happened. Claudia, go ahead and introduce yourself while I let my wailing cat into the
Of course. So I'm a career professional and I help career-driven women get the jobs they want at salaries they love. And I've even had clients get up to $50,000 in salary increases. So when I spoke to Amanda, actually a friend was already part of Persuade to Profit. And at the time I had just quit my full-time job. So I used to be in healthcare and I used to manage Medicaid health plans. And I had just quit my full-time job July of 2020 during COVID. And as of August 1st, I went full-time on my business where I've been running a career coaching business now for 5 years. And I found myself working from like 8 a.m. to like sometimes 10 p.m. I would not eat any meals with my husband, even though we both work from home. And I was just burned out, tired. And I'm like, how am I supposed to grow my business where I'm already capped? And in order to increase my revenue, I need to work more. And it was just this vigorous cycle where I was set up to fail at this point. And I knew I needed to do something different. And at the time, I already had enrolled in another program that would help me with publicity. So I kind of had a little bit pushback where I was like, Amanda, I already spent, invested in this program. But one thing that you did tell me was, all right, so you get publicity. Can you even handle that extra business? And I was like, no, I could barely even handle my business now. And I'm not even making as much as I wanted to. And I'm glad that I started working with you, Amanda, because right afterwards, I started cleaning my back-end operations. I started creating a course where I can service and work with multiple people now, and I can get my time back. I can spend time with my husband. And now I'm at that point where, I can get a lot of publicity and my business can withstand it and profit from it. And I'm able to provide the level of support that I want to be able to provide to my clients.
So I want to talk about something here, because basically what happened to you is what happened to me in my first business as a freelancer, which is you accidentally built a prison for yourself, right? Which happens to a lot of us. That happened to me in my first business. It was the same thing. It was like, oh shit, the way that I have this set up, I can't scale it, right? I can't really do this the way I want to do it, because in order for me to make more money, I would have to take on more clients and work more hours. And I literally do not have the capacity for that. So how was that making you feel? Because you did get success really fast, right? How is it no more prisons? Someone wrote, thank you, thank you, thank you. We also have a bunch of comments coming in. I'm getting notifications about comments on a live, but I don't know which live y'all are watching. I think you're watching last week's live. You have to watch it. Today's live. I'm not sure where you guys are. We got some hearts over here. LaDawn, my biz besties over here. So basically, it's what happened to me, and this happens to a lot of business owners, right? Thank you for the hearts, everybody. This happens to a lot of business owners where you go into business for yourself, basically to build freedom. Yeah, I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. No one's going to tell me what to do. I'm going to make my own hours. And then you end up having a business model where you become your own worst boss. And you're working all the time like Claudia was working. And then you run into that spot. I usually say when you start hitting that $7,000-$8,000 kind of mark there a month, you're already starting to tap out. You're done, right? And then at that point, it feels, and I don't think this was so much the case for you, but for me, I ended up completely changing my business to a totally different thing, or not totally different. It was more of an adjacent thing. And it was like I had to completely tear down the first model of the business and then go build the second one. So when I was talking to Claudia, I was like, yeah, we're going to avoid as much of that carnage as possible. We're going to try to do that. And the reason I say that is because there's lots of you listening to this right now who will say stuff, right? Claudia, you let me know if you ever said this. I know I did when I was a writer. Oh, I'm just going to be a writer forever. I love doing one-on-one work. I'm going to do one-on-one work forever. I don't see myself ever not doing this because I love it so much and I really want to work with people in that one-on-one capacity. I love doing it. For me, I was going to be a writer forever, right? Did you ever say that, Claudia? Did I at some point?
Yeah, I remember where I used to like pray or like, I can't wait to get like those one-on-one clients because, I mean, there was a point where I started my business. I was a newbie. I'm like, I just want clients. Like, that's all I want. And then it became like, I can't like take on more clients. So I can't even help more people because I just don't even have the bandwidth. So now what? Like, how am I cannot, I need to be able to do more service more, especially like in COVID happening and people getting unemployed and laid off and all these things. I really, truly did want to help. And there were so many people that needed that help, but I just couldn't because of how everything was set up with my business and everything.
So how was that making you feel? Because you did get success very quickly, really fast, actually, right after you quit your job. But then you were running into this other issue, and that issue was like, oh shit, I can't work. You mentioned that you weren't having dinner with your husband. You were working from 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m., just trying to keep up. How was that stuff making you feel? And how was it affecting, areas of your life?
Yeah, I just felt tapped out, burnt out. I'm like, why did I even quit my job? Because before I was working from like 8 a.m. to like 6, 7 p.m. I would eat dinner. And then I would start my business from like 7:30 to like 10, sometimes 11 p.m. plus weekends. And of course, at that time, I'm like, well, I'm going to quit my job. And once I have full time on my business, I'll then be able to spend time with my family and go out and have fun and not feel like stay up at night like, oh my God, I forgot to respond to this client. I forgot to do this. And then I started my business and it was the same thing. So it was the same hours. It's just now it was all in my business. And I just felt anxiety, frustration, burnt out. I'm like, did I do the right thing? What did I just do? Maybe I do want to go back to working and all these things. So I was like, maybe it wasn't as bad. And all of a sudden I started realizing that I was the common denominator. I was the reason why I was working so many hours. So it's like, all right, how can I remove myself as the obstacle or that bottleneck so that way I can start living the life that I want to live and be able to serve and help more people?
Yes, bottleneck is the operative word. At some point, if you all continue with the one-on-one work and you don't systematize what it is that you're actually doing, which we'll get to that, right? You are going to become the bottleneck of your own business. And that is a very crappy thing to have to fix. So let's avoid it. For those of you who are not there yet, let's avoid it, right? For those of you who are there, we're going to teach you how to get out of it. So what changed after joining Persuade to Profit? Because you were like, oh man, I'm in this other program to get PR. And I'm like, well, how are you even going to handle the PR? Right? Like, how are you even going to handle a new influx of business if you're already working freaking 12 hours a day almost? And then you joined us in Persuade to Profit. What started changing after joining?
Yeah, first I thought when I, was getting on a call with you is more like, oh, I just need to learn how to scale. Like I just need like a business model. And then I started Persuade to Profit. I was like, oh, I need way more than that. Like I need help with market research. I need help with creating systems, the back end, really like protecting my calendar, processes. Like, I mean, the list goes on. I didn't realize my business was that bad. I mean, at least to scale to like.
Okay, hold on, right? Let me stop you. It wasn't that bad, right? It's just these are things that no one tells us about. Yeah. When we're starting businesses, nobody told me anything. And then I had to go back and fix all of it. So no, it wasn't that bad. You were making money. It's just nobody told you. Nobody told you.
Yeah. I had a system that literally kept me at that 7-8K mark. So once I started the Persuade to Profit, one, it provided accountability. I am I would execute, but I need that accountability. If you tell me, hey, get it done by this time, I would probably wait until like 2-3 days beforehand to get that completed. Now, since we're meeting weekly, I'm like, I need to like show up. I paid for it. I invested in it. I'm going to make sure I'm successful. So I need to show up. Even I think I was on vacation and I still showed up to that call because this was very important to me. I was invested in it and I was going to make sure this was going to be successful. And because of it, I worked through it. I started getting results. And all of a sudden I started realizing, okay, here's where we need to focus on. I hired another team member to help me with like the admin operation side of it. And even then, like I was working a lot behind the scenes and doing it. And you're like, all right, so start selling it. Now you created this model, start selling it. And I was like, wait, you know,
in a second. Can you talk more about creating the model and what that process was like? Because what we find sometimes with business owners is that they struggle to they have all this stuff going on in their heads, right? And they're like, I do all this stuff with the one-on-one clients. I have all this stuff going on in my head, but they have difficulty kind of putting it out into an actual system, right? And you mentioned something which is like, oh shit, I need to go back and do market research. That happens a lot, actually. Like I talk to a lot of business owners. I'm like, did you test this thing out in the marketplace? Did you get this data? Did you map out the flow of what it is you're putting people through? And usually the answer is no. So can you speak to that a little bit for those who A, might be there, but B, so like the ones who haven't experienced that, we can just avoid that problem?
Yeah, so I did market research like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. And now, obviously, I have more experience even working with more clients across various industries. So I was like, I don't think I need market research. I did it like 4 years ago. Yeah. And I could get a lot of like I average anywhere between 7 to like 20 sales calls a week. So when I started going through Persuade to Profit, I was like, wait, I don't think I know the answers to these questions. It sounds like I think I might have to do the market research again. So I started doing it this way, this time the right way, I would say. And now I have more experience. I have more knowledge about my clients. So I could go even deeper with questions and really figure out like what is stopping them? What do they need? And actually through there is actually, I am now coming up, I'm building right now my next program. So once I finish, so through the Persuade to Profit, I created a 90-day job offer. It's career coaching from A to Z that will get you a job, $50,000 salary increases within 90 days. So now because of the market research, I'm able to create that upselling program now of like, all right, now that you have the job, how do we position you as an expert in your field? And that became because of market research. And again, I'm at a different level now as a business owner, and I have more intel and insights into my clients. So I'm able to ask better questions. And now I actually started focusing on the things that I knew would be important for my clients, but also I started focusing more on women. So now having topics dedicated and designated to women. So how do you job search if you're trying to conceive? Or what if you're pregnant, but you really want to get that new job and really hate your job? How do you navigate that? How do you start getting paid like a man? You know, how to negotiate? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really, really niched as a result of the market research, which again, this is a very important thing to point out because a lot of people are not clear on who their markets are. And that's why, because they haven't gone through this process. So I'm happy to hear that it allowed you to get really clear on who this market is. Because as they say, the riches are in the niches. And it's true, right? So I'm happy to hear that because a lot of people, that's a really big hang up is they just don't have clarity about who it is that they're trying to help. And to your point, you couldn't answer the questions that we had you guys looking through in Persuade to Profit. Most people don't. And sometimes I hear stories of people going through market research and they're like, yeah, we were told, you know, like what color lipstick do they wear or what's your ideal client avatar, but there's no actual like, okay, what is the issue? What is the problem? What are the problems in the way of the problem? Why haven't you done anything about this yet? Right? How does this stuff make you feel? Like there's not a lot of that depth, right? So did you feel that part was particularly helpful? Because that's the feedback that we get all the time.
Yeah, very helpful. And it really set up for success on really creating even more a robust program around it, which right before used to be one-on-one. And now it's like a on-demand or live program similar to Persuade to Profit, but for career coaching. And I was able to provide more resources because I already knew, like, anticipated the problem, or they told me during the market research. And now I can set them up even better for success, and also speak to different learning languages, because people learn very differently. And I have my own, like, oh, this works for me. But because of that market research, I also started learning how they learn. And not everyone is the same.
So two things here. One, that's the whole point of going through that market research phase, is that you guys get, like, you know your audience better than your audience knows your audience. So you're able to anticipate things before they happen. That's part of the reason why it's modeled the way that it is. Also makes you much better at sales and marketing, but also so you can create a product, right, that A, you feel good about and that you know actually solves a problem, right? B, that's easy to sell, right? And C, that really caters to the market, not just like, oh, like all their different needs, right? And you can design something that's really going to provide transformation and results. So there's a method to the madness, because sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to do that, right? And I'm like, well, I mean, do it, right? And you're going to get levels of clarity that you did not have before that will help you create products so you can start taking yourself out of the business, or it will help you anticipate objections before you even hear them, right? It will help you identify, or if you do hear objections, you'll be like, great, how do I solve that objection in the product itself so that this is easier to sell? Or how can I solve this issue? I gotta take the crown off, guys. It keeps falling. Sorry. I know you guys love the crown, right? But it's like not cooperating today. I'm like trying to adjust it, right? So there's a method to the madness, right? Because part of what messes people up with sales, and we haven't even gotten to sales yet, right, is that the product is off, right? Either the product is off or the product is non-existent, right? Or like it could be better. So sometimes even people who have a lot more experience in business, I still have to put them through that first part of Persuade to Profit, because to your point, there are questions there that they could not answer. And until you have the answers to those questions, then it, like, if you figure them out and you create a product around them, that's going to be way easier to market and sell. And you are going to feel more confident about what it is that you're doing. So it's kind of a sneaky little thing that we do so you guys build confidence and conviction. We just don't tell you that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't make sense until you get to sales, right? So there's no point in talking about it right then and there. Okay. So you talked about, so I'm glad we covered that. So what results started happening after joining?
Yeah. So before, I used to have like a closing rate of like around 42%. And my husband is in corporate sales. So even 30% is like the best sales reps close at a 30%.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like hot stuff. Yeah, I thought it was hot stuff at 42%. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty good. And then actually another person, Sylvia, that went to Persuade to Profit, was like 90% closing rate. And that's actually, I didn't even know about the program. I didn't even heard about you, Amanda, yet. And I was like, how did you get 90% closing rate? Like I didn't even think that was possible.
I mean, it's absurd. It's absurd. I don't even think I have a 90% closing rate. Like, it's crazy, right? Like when she did the math and we found out Sylvia had a 90% closing rate, right? I was like, what the fuck? I don't even think I have that. Like when I'm on fire, I'm like at 80, right? But to your point, right? In when you look at sales statistics and sales data, usually they're pulling from corporate, right? Corporate sales, it's usually much longer sales cycles. There's a lot more cold calling. There's a lot more of that stuff going on, right? But 20 to 30 is considered great. Right? In terms of like if you're doing less than 20, like something's all the way wrong, right? Like that's kind of the barrier that's like the bar that they use to measure. That's the metric, right? So yeah, you probably did think you were hot shit if your husband's in corporate sales and you were like, oh, I got a 42%. Well, that's 12% more than 30. Yeah. So what does your close rate get to? So yeah, no, when we did the math on Sylvia, my mind blew too, because I was a recruiter and we recruited for sales jobs. And I'm like, that's insane. Like that's absurd.
That is my new goal. Now I'm trying to get to 90% of Sylvia, but right now I'm at 75%. So it went from like 42 to 75%. I've charged more now, and it doesn't even require my one-on-one time. and it's a lot more seamless process around it. So huge improvement. And even like you said, like I used to have like $7,000 to $8,000 months, and then it went to like 10,000. And this is just like maybe like a few weeks after I started Persuade to Profit. It went to 10K months, and then all of a sudden went 15K, and then 20K months. I'm at this point. So now it's like, all right, I'm building it out, and that's because I'm still working through my back end operations, but I'm confident that for July I'll have a 30K month, like without a doubt. And it'll increase because at the end of the month, at the end of the year, my goal is to have those 50K months. And now I have a system around it.
You're going to hit it.
Yeah.
Right.
And Persuade to Profit really quick is like a good rinse and repeat program. So I finished it for that 90-day job offer I created, and I rinse and repeat and create the next program. Rinse and repeat and create the next program. So it creates all of a sudden, I can create funnels of programs just by following the Persuade to Profit framework.
And that was designed on purpose too. And I tell you guys, like, hey, you could do every time you're going to bring something new out into the marketplace, follow this process. That's part of the reason why it's yours forever, right? So what do you think helped increase that close rate? Obviously, you know, the clarity helps a lot because you're able to anticipate problems. And also having a really solid product also really helps, right? So you have a solid product, you niched, so you were talking to the right people. All those things add up to a higher close rate, guys. It's like building blocks, right? Yeah. We want to make sure that we've got this strategy in place so it's not like what most people are doing. So it's intentional, right? And it's not what most people are doing, which is what I call the spray and pray method, right? Which is you have no idea who your audience is. You're trying to sell one-on-one stuff, but you're not even clear on what problems people solve, right? You're sending 100 messages a day to whoever because you're not even clear on whoever will talk to you. You're sending 100 messages a day because it's not intentional. And when you start putting those intentions in place and you start putting those building blocks, look what you're able to do. Right? You're able to have what, 30% increase, 32%, 33% increase on a close rate. That's nothing to sneeze at. That is major. That is huge, right? And I tell people all the time, you get much better at these things and you get much better at a closing rate. And you mentioned how you have a better closing rate charging more money. Can you speak to that for a second? Because a lot of people get freaked out that they're going to price themselves out of the market and that they're actually going to close less sales if they charge more money. So I think it's really interesting that you're like, no, actually 33% increase in close rate and I'm charging more money. Can you speak for a second for those who are like, what?
So like my one-on-one, so like this means like you get access to me, a very personalized feedback. It would be $3,000 just for my program one-on-one. Now I created like, and this was one-on-one. There was nothing they can go back to. I mean, I did have some recorded calls where they can rewatch it, but there was no process around it really. And it took a lot more time because they're like, wait, what did you repeat that? I know you showed me how to do something. Can you show me again? And then I created like a course around it. And that way they can go on their own time. They can declare, like they can dictate more faster. And again, I don't have to be the bottleneck. I'm like, oh, I can't meet until next week, Friday, to show you how to do the next step. Now my clients can go in on their own and watch or binge watch and do the work as fast or slow as they want. And now I charge $3,000 for group coaching. So now they don't get access to me one-on-one. Like this is as a group, they get access to me. But at this point, I don't want to offer one-on-ones because for that 1 hour a week that I would spend with a client, now I can take care of and help 15 to 20, 30 clients more than I could. So I don't even offer one-on-one at this point with career coaching. So now they don't get me on one-on-one, but now they get me as a group for that price. And then now I'm creating that. And I created more like a beta program since it is a course I created. Again, I wanted to make sure it worked.
You made money on a beta program. I want to make too, because a lot of people do beta programs for free and they don't make any money. So can you talk about that for a second? Because you made money selling a beta program. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, so part of Persuade to Profit, it's creating an outline, creating like pricing packages, everything. And you gave me some really great feedback, Amanda, and the team as well, that I was like, all right, I have like the framework for the course and I hadn't built it yet. And you were like, all right, so start selling it. And I was like, no, I still need to do it. And then I need to build it first and then sell it. And you're like, just sell it. You have a goal. And you triggered my competitiveness, and I'm like, all right, I need to beat everyone in this group. And it's not like I'm not trying to be like in your face. It's just more internally.
You're a naturally competitive person, and that's fine. That's great.
I'm a type A. Yeah, I'm a type A personality. So I was like, all right, it's go time. So I got sales calls and I sold. That's how I made my $17,000 sales in a week, and I hadn't even built it yet. So I was like, oh shit, like I have to build this course because I told this client they were going to have access on Monday. It's Thursday. So I blocked my entire weekend. I was like, I had like a friend's birthday party. I was like, sorry, can't make it. I have stuff to do. And in a weekend, I built the entire course that by Monday, I already had cleaned up the backend operations. There was email sequences. I had surveys and everything where once Monday hit, it was like, hey, welcome to 90-day job offer. Here's your access. And all the modules were in there. I already had set up those processes. But again, because I knew through Persuade to Profit what to focus on and what to do. So in a weekend, I created a full 90-day course.
But it was easy because you had the map. But this is important, guys. I really, really want to drive this point home. You should get paid for your betas. You should get paid. Claudia did $14,000 in sales selling a beta that she then created the weekend before Monday when the thing was supposed to start. What a lot of people do, right, and it's a misstep, right, is they will create all this stuff first. They will invest all this money into creating stuff. I mean, I've heard stories of people spending 5 figures on a videographer for a program and then no one buys the program, right? Or last week we were talking to someone who's putting on an event. She has spent all this money on an event, all this money on marketing, or she was about to spend money on paid advertising, but she never tested the product, right? So what ends up happening a lot of time, like she never validated it in the marketplace. So the reason you want to charge for your betas, and you don't have to have everything figured out already before you charge for your betas, you need to know what results you're going to get people. You need to know what the system is, but you don't need to have all the damn videos done, because we're not going to exert that amount of energy and effort until we have market validation that people will buy this thing. Right? The only way that I would say don't do that is like when we were bringing out our tiny offer earlier this year, which is our media pitch system. I knew people were going to buy it because they've been asking me for it. Right? So I didn't have to pre-sell the thing first. Right? But even when I was being taught how to do that, they said the same thing. They're like, slap a Shopify site together, drive traffic to it, pre-sell the thing, let people know that, you're going to be co-creating it with them, or give them a date when it's going to be available, but make money off of it. Don't just give all this stuff away for free. It's extremely valuable. And the other reason you want to charge, right, is because then you will get your market validation. People will pay for it. So it's worth putting in all that time and effort pursuing it. So don't skip that part, guys. Everybody wants to skip it because everybody wants to avoid selling. Right? And then they're like, oh, I'm going to do the videos. I'm working. No, go make sure the thing makes money before you spend any time, money, energy, or effort on any videos. Right? So I wanted to make sure we talked about that, because we've had a lot of people posting in our free Facebook group, especially, that they're coming out with beta programs and they're like, I'm looking for 3 people. It's free. And I'm like, don't do that. No, you should be making money off of this, right?
And even now, I'm building my next program for the upselling portion. So after you get the job offer, and this is something I've never actually worked with clients one-on-one. It's something that I did personally, for my own career, and I know that it's been successful. So how to get publicity, I've been on podcasts, featured in Business Insider, Forbes, how to get on panels, how to do workshops, all of those things that I charge only for my best clients that had really great results that are going to be committed. I charge them $500 so they can co-create it with me. And then once the course gets released, they'll have access to it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. This is wonderful. Okay, so how do you feel now that the ball is rolling? How do you feel how do you feel now that the ball is rolling, and how do you feel you've changed?
I still can't believe it. Like I said, I don't work until 10 p.m. Now, there is still a lot that I'm learning through. I am part of a platinum program. 10 a.m.
You said 10 p.m. You don't work until 10 p.m. or 10 a.m.?
I don't work till 10 p.m. anymore. I still work until 7.
You don't work until
Yeah.
I was thinking you start work at 10 p.m. Now I get what you were saying.
No. So 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m.
Okay.
Now I stop work around 7:30 or so. I have dinner now with my husband. And, there's still some things that I'm learning through because this is a first time for me making 20K months and growing. So I am part of the Mastermind Platinum program where you are helping me uncover, because before what I used to deal with, I no longer, it's a problem. Like me hiring people, I don't mind. Like my focus is sales and improving and creating that vision and strategy, creating the programs. If I need to hire a support team, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm ready to delegate. You're helping me create better systems now. So I do have new challenges because I'm at a whole new level. And again, I'm grateful that I'm part of that platinum program, again, because I can come to you and I could do, like, I tend to be that person that when I have a problem, I'm just in my head and it's like a big deal. And I'll be there in my head, like having it steep for like weeks sometimes. Now I just know if I have a problem, I'll write the question or what the challenge is. I bring it on Mondays for the platinum calls. And then you and Lisa kind of just break it down and be like, all right, here's what you need to do, A, B, and C, or why do you think this is it? And then we kind of get to that root cause and I move on. So
Move on.
If I do have a problem, the most I'll steam into is a week. If it's like, if it happened on Tuesday, then I'll just wait till the following Monday and then I move on. So I don't become a bottleneck again.
I love it. I love that you're not being a bottleneck. I love that you're family planning because you told that. Like now you actually can start figuring that stuff out, which is huge. You know how many women have babies first and then realize they have to do other systems? No shade if you did that, right? I have lots of colleagues and friends that's what happened. They had the baby and then they went, oh shit, I gotta figure out some systems. So kudos to you for figuring out the systems first and then family planning, right? That's amazing. So those of you who want to have families, this is stuff you need to think about, right? Because I think, did I do a live on this? Or maybe I was talking to my attorney last week because I was interviewing her for the podcast, but that came up because for her, she had mentioned how she was an attorney. She was still doing one-on-one stuff. She hadn't scaled yet. She didn't have team yet. She didn't have things systematized yet. She didn't have offerings that you could buy where she didn't have to do anything. And her father passed away. And then she's like, I'm trying to get a filing into court, handle his funeral arrangements, talk to insurance companies, and write an obituary all at the same time, right? And she goes, I can't do this. I can't do it. Right. And then that's when she started thinking about systematizing and scaling and processes, and stepping away from the business. Right. So kudos to you that before a major life change came about, because babies do change lots of things, right, that you're already thinking about it and you're like, wait a minute, this is what I want to do. Right. What do I have to put in place right now to make sure that when the baby comes, right, that this is not going to fucking disrupt everything. And we can still keep making money and I can be there for the baby, right? And I can take my maternity leave. That's huge, right? So I wanted to commend you for that because most people do not have that foresight, right? So that's a big deal. They usually learn the hard way first. And I'm very excited to see where things are going for you. Like Lisa and I at our team meeting today, we're like, Claudia could have a 7-figure business in 2 years. Easy. Just like easy, right? Like the product is there, the foundations are there, you're doing the work, you show up. We're like, yeah, she has the foundations that if she really builds this stuff out and makes the right moves, she could have a 7-figure business in a couple years. Easy.
And then take like 2-3 month vacations.
Right? And then take like 2 or 3 month vacations, right? So what would you say? I wanted to make sure that we covered this because sometimes people think that Persuade to Profit is only for people who are scaling. And there was something that you mentioned on one of the live calls where you said, I wish I would have done something like this when I was actually starting my business, right? Rebecca actually said last week, because Rebecca just started her business during the pandemic, right? And she last week said, I'm glad this is what I did first and not a bunch of like other smaller random things, because even though I'm not ready to scale yet, like now I know what I'm working toward. And now I understand the building blocks that need to be there in order for something to be sustainable. You mentioned that you wish you had done something like this from the beginning, right? But I don't think I ever asked you why you said that.
Yeah. So I actually started my first business when I was 25. I'm 33 now. And at the time, I started a VA business, so a virtual admin business. And at that time, like I've been working a lot through my money mindset and everything, but I was more of I'd rather do it myself. I'll figure it out. I can learn everything. I'm an avid learner. I love to read. I'm willing to invest. And I bought courses, like I bought $2,000 courses. I bought $1,000 courses. I bought a lot of books, and I've taken like online course. I mean, I think I did everything, and it was more like I'll do it myself. I could figure it out. I'll work it out. Like I have a joke in my family. It's like, what can't Claudia do? Like I literally can do. I can do taxes. I can put up a website. I can do like SEO. I can everything. And I was in the mentality, it's like I'll learn it. I'm at that point in my life that, yeah, I can learn it. Do I want to? No. Is it the best usage of my time? No. Unless it's sales and client work, I'd rather delegate it or learn it. And what I mean by that is now I'm at the point is like, I'd rather pay someone like you, Amanda, invest that money. I'm like, just show me how to do it. And then if I have to, I'll hire someone to put the systems in place and then move forward. Because I mean, it was within weeks and months that I was able to create this program, and it really is totally worth the investment, because had I done this 8 years ago, I could have had a multiple 7-figure or 8-figure business at this point. But because I wanted to do it myself, I wanted to do it, like I'll figure it out, and I'll like Google search and grab this blog post and grab from this course and kind of like sew it together and figure it out. And it came out sloppy, and I'd rather just invest and say, Amanda, I did what I did in this course. Did I do this right or not? Yes, no, boom, let's move on. And that accountability helps, and that quick instant feedback helps a lot. And like I said, I could have ramped up my success with my business had I invested in the beginning, like head on. But things happen. It ended up being, at this point, I'm now mindset ready. But if you have the opportunity to do this from the beginning, do it, because that would save you, at least for me, it took me about 8 years to get to this point. You can have that within 2-3 months.
Oh yeah. Rebecca was like, you probably saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, because I made the hundreds of thousands of dollars of mistakes, and I too would have a multiple 7-figure business already had somebody just told me that. Yeah. Right? But it didn't exist. It did not exist. Well, so let's give ourselves some like grace. It didn't exist. 8 years ago, this was not a thing. 8 years ago, no one was talking about this, right? 8 years ago, I guess not enough people had gotten to stages in their businesses where they went, holy shit, I need to scale, right? And a lot of people didn't even make it that far, to be honest, right? So because I remember it used to like frustrate me. It was the same thing, like, dang it, if I just understood this stuff, right? 8 years ago, I would have a $10 million company. Shit, right? But giving ourselves grace, it didn't exist. It was not a thing. So it's up to people like you and me to kind of figure it out, right? So then we can teach people behind us how to do better. That's the way that I see it, so that they don't make the expensive mistakes that I made, right? So they don't, it took me 7 years to get to 6 figures. It doesn't have to take anybody 7 years to get to 6 figures, because I was doing a lot of the same shit, right? I was like, I'll do it myself. I don't want to, well, for me, I didn't even want to spend money. So you were ahead of me on that one. Right? Like I didn't even want to do that. I was like, I'll do it myself. I will do it the cheapest way possible. I will figure it out. I will do it. There was no structure. There was no like vision. There was no guiding points. There was nobody telling me like, hey, you need to start thinking about, how can this thing run without you? Right? Mm-hmm. Hey, you need to start thinking about systematizing. Nobody told me. Nobody. Right? So because nobody was talking about it. Everybody was just kind of figuring it out for the first time 8 years ago. So giving ourselves some grace, because I know that frustration for the competitive ones who are like, damn it. Because that's me too. And you basically answered my last question. So is there anything else that you want to leave the audience with? Anybody who might be on the fence about signing up, anybody who might be on the fence as to whether or not this will actually work for them? What do you have to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like my problem was the scaling. So if you're looking to scale, percentage of profit is definitely it. If you're starting a business, then definitely percentage of profit. Because I mean, it would have been so much easier had because right now I'm trying, like I'm managing clients, like, so my group coaching clients, making sure I'm creating that. I'm creating another program, and I'm still trying to clean up a lot more of the back end operations. It would have been a lot easier I'm like, oh, I'm starting a business. Let me create all these back end processes. So it's like a cleaner transition. But I mean, it'll still need to be done. So wherever you are in your business, definitely this is it. And like I said, like, I'm not one of like the top star clients. Like, there are some of your clients are people or students from Persuade to Profit that are making like those 50K months, and that's what I'm looking for.
Today, we had a client today.
Yes, I saw that.
A $14,000 client. One person is paying her $14,000. Yep. Yeah. We had another client recently who closed a $25,000 sale.
See, so it's not like, I want to be around women like that are going above and beyond. They're ambitious, willing to do the work, get the success, because that's the network that I want. Having a business can be lonely at times. Like, my husband's in sales, but he's in corporate sales. That is vastly different than having your own business and doing like this coaching aspect of it. So it really does help having that network, that community, that direct live feedback that you can get right on the spot. And like, it just sets you up. I'm creating a system and environment that sets me up for success, and Persuade to Profit like checks off a lot of those boxes that I need in order for me to create the best environment for me to succeed and become that 7-figure business owner.
Well, you're already thinking like a 7-figure business owner. So it is only a matter of time. Mark our words. Lisa and I said today, in 2 years, you got a 7-figure business.
Thank you.
Because you already think like a millionaire, right? And I want to end it on that note. Actually, if y'all want to make money, you need to stop making minimum wage decisions. You need to stop making broke people decisions, right? And Claudia is a great example of that. She said it, right? Where she's like, I'm at a stage where if someone could just teach me how to get there faster and I have to hire an expert, fine, I'll figure out the money, I'll figure it out and I'll implement it and I have control over that, but I don't have time to waste, right? That's how millionaires think. That's how multimillionaires think, because they understand they can always make more money, but they're never going to get their time back, ever, right? And that is something that I feel like we all have to go through that process where we realize that our time is more valuable than money. And that doesn't mean, because some people are like, oh, money won't make you happy. That's not what I'm talking about. Because some people will make that mean, right, where they're like, oh, okay, well, if time is more valuable than money, then I'm not going to spend my time making money because money is not that important. No, you need money to live, and we all want to have a good life, and I have expensive taste, and I know a lot of you do too, right? Right? Claudia wants to take 3-month-long vacations. That shit costs money, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure she's not staying at cheap-ass places either, right? It all costs money, right? What it does mean is that we have to understand that we have to have the right structures, systems, mindset, which comes from those decisions, right, in order to maximize the time that we spend making money. So we're actually progressing and we're actually getting somewhere. And for a lot of you, it does start with those $1 million decisions, right? That's what Rachel Rogers calls the $1 million decisions. Some people call them millionaire decisions, but really starting to be like, okay, well, and some of you are trying to get to 6 figures. You can't even imagine making 7 figures. Great. How do 6-figure business owners operate? How do they make decisions? I can tell you, as a multiple 6-figure business owner, I'm like Claudia. I don't have time to waste. I will just pay somebody to help us figure this out. I don't have that kind of time. I hired a recruiter because I don't have time to go do job postings. And I was a recruiter and I don't have time to do it because I know how much time it takes, right? And I know the effort required. I could do it, right? I have the skill set to do it. Fuck, I did it at my last job. I know exactly what to do, but I don't have that kind of time. Right? So I would rather just pay someone else and outsource it, right? Or last year, we hired someone who actually helped us create the Facebook group and create this community. It was her idea. That was an expert that we hired because I was like, we need to do a better job of community, right? We need to really make sure this stuff is set up properly. We hired somebody because I don't have the time. Right? And that's how a lot of you need to start thinking. You need to start thinking with more 6-figure decisions, 7-figure decisions. The people who are making money, how do they go about the world? right? Are they trying to do everything themselves? No. By the way, that was me too, recovering under earner, right? And it's very common among women as well because we have that superwoman complex, right? But I can tell you that multi-million dollar business owners, not even multi-million dollar business owners, just people who make enough money to live good, right? Not even like fantastic, just good, right? Do not waste their time on things they do not need to waste their time on, right? So if you have been sitting on the fence, you're trying to figure it out by yourself, right? If you've taken a bunch of programs, we just had Roland earlier today. Roland closed a $14,000 client today when she's on the on-demand version of Persuade to Profit. Just from the videos, right? She closed a $14,000 client today. And when she came into Persuade to Profit, she'd been in a bunch of programs. She worked for other coaches and didn't know how to sell, right? She worked for other people, right, in this space and still wasn't able to close anything. And she's actually coming on next month. She's agreed to do an interview like this, right? But there comes and she made a decision, right? I was like, listen, this is what you got to do. She found the money. She figured it out. Boom. Started closing a high ticket client in 2 weeks. Then came the next one. And today she has a $14,000 client, right? Because she started making decisions with the mindset of how do people who make money, people who understand money, how do they make decisions, right? How do they operate? How do they move? What is their identity, right? And Claudia's already doing those, which is why Lisa and I are damn sure she's going to be a 7-figure business owner. In no time. You might get there before we do.
Thanks.
You might get there before we do at this rate. But it's an important thing, guys. Can you talk about the sales training real quick? We'll end it there because we're finding that a big portion that's missing from people's training, the product, right? The systems, all of that is true, but also sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just are not getting sales training. They're getting a lot of marketing and mindset and money. No, sorry, marketing, mindset, and manifesting, all of which is great, important. I do it. Right. But from our experience, people are not actually learning how to sell. Right. There's only 6 modules in Persuade to Profit about sales. Can you speak to that briefly? Because there are a lot of people listening who are like, do I really have to talk to people? Yeah. If you want to make this kind of money, you got to talk to people. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. And I mean, before I used to cringe, like, you know, when I started first was cringe, like just getting on a call. Now I was like, okay, I love it. Cause then I can say like, exactly, am I right? Like, I'm already anticipating, even just looking at their LinkedIn profile. I'm like, I think it's going to be A, B, and C. And I get on a call and I was like, okay, I let them talk. And I'm like, yep, I was right. So now it's fun. So it's like, all right. I'm like, okay, can I get that 90% closing rate this week? But you talk about like in the course, like objections, how to handle it, mindset, how to work through it. And then like how we buy, like meaning how I buy. And then afterwards, there's just so much you can learn through videos if you aren't doing it. And in Persuade to Profit, we actually had a challenge where, you know, we had to get on 100 sales calls in 3 weeks. I didn't get to 100 sales calls, but I did get to like
that
42. I think I had like 42 sales calls, and through there I was like, it just sharpened my skills really quickly as well. And you also showed like we had to do like a hot seat, and of course I volunteered for it because I knew that's the best way. It's like for me to be on the spot. I had a deadline. I had to, you know, come in really good at my sales skills by that point, because I'm a person that I'm like, I like to see in order to learn, and I have to do it in order to learn and really like ingrain it. So that was really helpful because I got live feedback. I got to hear other people from the cohort on like how they did sales. And like I said, I mean, it was to say, nope, start again. That was wrong. Or 2, it was like, you saw that, did you even realize you did this? This is really good. Or 3, also, why don't you mention this as well? Because this is, you know, it's also a great strategy. And then just learning, being comfortable with like handling objections. I think that some of us are really good at selling our product and like, here's what we do, but what's hardest and sometimes to learn as well, unless you practice it and everything, is, all right, oh, is time an issue? Is money an issue? What's really behind the scenes? Like you said that this pain, that you've been going through this pain for like 3 years at this point. why do you need to think about it when we clearly have an answer at this point? And that's what I need to help with. It's like being comfortable with, handling the objections live right on the spot.
Yeah. And then boom, $14,000 a week.
And like I said, my closing ratio 42 to like 75 at this point. And, I know that I want to get to 90. I'm like, if there's 90, then maybe we can hit like 100%, or I need to create more products.
Yeah, or you create more products. I mean, we say it all the time. Like, not even the best salesperson on the planet has 100% close rate. But I don't know. A couple of my clients have gotten really fucking close. So.
Or I need to increase my sales, the pricing of my products or services. If I get a really high rate, then I need to increase my prices. That's what it tells me.
Yep, there you go. All right, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you, Claudia, for coming on here, talking to our clients about your experience in Persuade to Profit. I'm telling you, literally at our team meeting today, Lisa and I were like, that's a 7-figure business owner right there. Like, she's 2 years, mark my words, Claudia is a millionaire. Mark my words. Right? You're going to come back to this video. You can ask Adina. I'm prophetic, right? So you can come back to this video in 2 years and be like, oh my God, Amanda, you were right. You said it on the video. So we're going to make sure that this is recorded and stays up. When that happens in 2 years, you're going to be like, oh my God, you told me. Ask Adina. I'm prophetic.
Okay.
I call shit.
Thanks.
Adina. All right, everybody. We will see everybody here next week. I think we're back to our regular training schedule next week. And then next month, we have Roland. She's going to be our client interview. She's going to talk about how she literally went from like not being able to close anybody, right, to joining us in Persuade to Profit as an on-demand student, starting to close people in 2 weeks. And then today having a $14,000 client. So we've got some really, really good stuff planned out for you guys. And as always, guys, learn to be the queen of your sales and you will never worry about money again. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody. Woo.